Okay, let's go for the evaluation of OCL expressions in use. There are different options to evaluate OCL expressions. One option is to use the graphical user interface. The other option is to use the CLI. I have prepared here 7 lines which have to do with the OCL expressions. As you see here, there is a command, check. We can issue this command on the command line. And what this command is doing, it is evaluating the invariants that are part of the model, and it checks whether the invariants are satisfied. And we see here all 4 invariants are satisfied. See this by the OK result. We can do the same on the graphical user interface. We have here the class invariance window, a little bit larger, the class invariance window, and in principle the same result as was presented on the command line interface. All 4 invariants are satisfied in this object diagram. So these 2 options, the class invariance window and the check command on the CLI, evaluate OCL invariants. This option here is for evaluating queries, OCL expressions on the graphical user interface, and I have said I have prepared here something, so some queries. Let's copy this may.invitee. Let's paste this into the window and evaluate it. And what we see right now is that the invitees of May are exactly Merkel, which is in accordance here with the fact that there is a pending friendship between May and Merkel, and Merkel is the invitee. The second OCL expression, let's look for the inviters of Merkel. We have here the clear button also. And the inviters of Merkel are May and Putin. Again, this is in accordance. May has 2 inviters, namely May, and the second inviter is Putin. Both friendships are in different state. The third OCL expression, there is some error here in the text. Merkel.pasting.commenter. That should be okay here. Let's copy this and bring it into the OCL expression window. Let's clear the result and evaluate it. Okay, what do we see? Okay, Merkel.posting.commenter. Well, what we are doing is we are navigating from Merkel to her postings, and then we are asking who are the commenter of the postings of Merkel. And we see the result. It's a collection. I will not explain right now why it is a bag and not a set. We will have arguments about it, and I will explain it later in the course. The commenters of Merkel's posting is given here by a collection, and the collection consists of Putin. Next OCL expression. We are using here a general query. I'm accessing here the class profile, and I'm looking for all objects that are currently profile objects. These are, so the value of this expression will be the 4 objects: Putin, Trump, Merkel, and May. And I'm applying here a select, and I'm specifying here a particular condition, namely the postings I want to select only those postings, only those profiles where the postings of the profile are not empty. Let's do this here. Let's copy this expression, copy, paste it on the shell, not on the shell, on the GUI. I could clear it, but it will also work that I simply push the evaluate button here. Yeah, profile on instances, select those profiles which has postings, and there's only one profile that has postings, and it's again set Merkel. Next to last OCL expression, profile all instances. The difference is now to the previous one. There's a different selection mechanism. I'm selecting those profiles. I'm accessing here the last name attribute, and then I'm using here an operation on strings. So when you have a string, you can with add access the single string that is at the respective position. Let's play around with this a bit here on the use command line. So let's have a string. Let's take the string ice and let's check for the 3rd letter, and that's the S here. And in much the same way, I'm accessing here the 1st letter in the last name, and I want to check whether it is the letter M. So let's copy this OCL expression, put it on the shell, and evaluate it. Yeah, and again, the answer set here is the set consisting of May and Merkel, which is in accordance, the other profile object, Trump does not start with the M, Putin does not start with the M, but May and Merkel, the last name, starts with the M, which we have asked for here. I told you we could enter this expression here on the shell, evaluate it here. And I told you before, one very nice thing about use is that you can play around with queries, with OCL expressions. I have entered the last OCL expression here on the shell, and very good for playing is the feature on the shell. You can go back to the last command by pushing the cursor up keyboard stroke, and there you see now the expression that we have entered, and we can now edit this expression, and we could change the expression, we could change the OCL expression, and now we want to see all profile objects where the last name starts with P, and as an answer we get Putin. So this is a nice way on the shell, when you have the OCL expressions on the shell and you are developing OCL expressions, to play around with them. This was our previous expression, and as we see now in my prepared example, I have extended here the last OCL expression, the last query, I have extended it here. Namely, I have extended here the last expression by this part here. The collect is an operation that we have not seen before. The collect is taking each element of the argument set, and the collect is then applying a term which sits here inside the collect, and the collect is applying this term to each of the elements that are in the argument collection. Let's simply do it. Let's copy this here. Let's go again to the shell and put it there. So I'm extending here on the shell the previous command, the previous query. And what is done here by this collect? Well, to every argument, the argument collection was the result of the select. The argument collection here to the collect was the May and the Merkel, and I'm applying now this term to every element in the argument collection. So I'm getting the first name of May, and I'm getting the first name of Merkel, and I'm getting Angela, and I'm getting Teresa, and yeah, that's the result in form of a string. We could take, as we have done it on the shell, we could take this complete term and put it again on the GUI, clear the result, get the result over here, and yeah, GUI and CLI are consistent to each other. The result is again Angela and Teresa. You might ask yourself about the representation here, because in the profile set, May came first and Merkel came second. And in the string bag, Angela comes first and Teresa comes second. Well, what use does when we have a set or a bag, it chooses a representation, and before choosing the representation, it brings the elements in some order. And May comes alphabetically before Merkel, and Angela comes alphabetically before Teresa. So that was an overview on the functionality of OCL expressions in the OCL invariance window and the OCL evaluation window. OCL expressions in use. And there are other uses of OCL expressions. This is just a first impression.